item. So my first question for you, so that you can get engaging, we can create that sense of community and belonging, is what had you join this challenge? What is your biggest struggle when it comes to meeting your future partner, and where are you getting stuck? Okay, so tap away in the comments and I'll just have a little look and start to catch up. Helen says she can't seem to be able to join the live event, but you're in the right place, Helen, because I'm right here. So I think there's a little bit of a delay on my comment feed, so keep those comments coming. What is your biggest struggle? Where are you getting stuck? And the second question is, what do you want to get out of being here over these 3 days? All right, as I said, it could take some time for the comments to come through, so I will check them later. But it's really good for all the other women in the group to see your comments as well. All right, so my name is Emma Lorraine Pask. I am a dating and relationship coach, and I specialize in helping women in their midlife period to get ready for love, to effortlessly meet their ideal man, and to go on to build healthy, committed relationships that last. Now, don't worry if you don't define yourself as being in your midlife period. My youngest client last year was 29 and my oldest was 74. So love can and really does happen at any age. Now, what I'm going to be teaching you tonight is not going to be about dating strategy, but it's going to be about the energetics of dating. So I'm not going to tell you just to go out there and do X, Y, and Z. No. We are going to come to this tonight from a very feminine place, which essentially is all about energetics, because this is what I believe will mean that you will get entirely different results and effortlessly meet your ideal man in the next 90 days. Now, you might ask how I know that this is possible. And it's because I myself spent 15 years on and off the apps before I met a long-term partner. And so I have experienced all of it, right? All the shit that you've experienced online, I have experienced it too. But when I got to the age of about 40, I decided that enough was enough. And I went on a mission to learn everything that I could about intimate relationships and to find my man. And as soon as I started operating by the energetic principles that I'm going to be teaching you tonight, everything changed. But one essential principle that I took to heart that ultimately enabled me to reinvent my love life was the principle of radical personal responsibility. And to get going this evening, I'd like you to step into this principle too. Because it's very, very easy, right, to blame men, to blame the apps, to blame hookup culture, and all the many other things that are out there. And I'm not going to lie to you, right? There is a lot of very poor, shoddy, bad behavior on the internet, and a lot of damaged men out there who can't communicate and who aren't ready for a relationship. However, if we stay in the energy and the mindset of blame and lack, we won't ever gain the power to change our situation, because none of these things that are external to us are within our control. The only person that we do have control over is ourselves. And when you're willing to take radical self-responsibility, to investigate your blind spots, to work with your fears, to work with your limiting beliefs, and all the bad habits that arise from them, you will be absolutely amazed by the changes that you witness in your love life. So once I really got this principle, after 15 years of unsuccessful dating, I was able to hack the apps easily and successfully and get into a long-lasting, loving relationship. Now, that relationship eventually came to an amicable end as we realized that we wanted different things in life, but I'm now dating again and I'm already meeting some amazing and great quality men. Plus, I have every faith and complete trust that when the time is right and I'm truly ready, my next partner will effortlessly appear. Now, I know that so many of you are feeling jaded and fed up with dating. And so I also want to say, because this particularly applies to the dating apps, that you don't have to use online dating to find a partner. There are plenty of other ways to do it. And I'm going to be releasing a fairly low cost workshop very soon that's going to be all about how to meet a partner in real life. So do keep your eyes peeled for that. But tonight, I am going to be referring to online dating fairly regularly because statistics show that it is still by far the most common way that people meet their partners. And it also does mean that you can meet a much wider range of people more quickly than via any other means. There are millions and millions of people online, even in rural areas, and even when you're in a certain age group. And you're only looking for one, right? And so the truth is that if you exist with your beautiful personality, your heart, your desires, your intelligence, and all the love that you have to give, then a man who can match you in that place also exists. It's simply not possible for it to be otherwise, unless you truly believe that men are an inferior race. And if you do, you might want to address this belief because it is definitely sabotaging your chances. Now, I'm also going to be focusing on internet dating because there is a way of going about it that will enable you to put an end to all the pain and suffering that you have experienced in dating so far and effortlessly meet your ideal man in just 1 or 2 dates, just like so many of my clients have done. You see, in the 7.5 years that I've been working as a dating and relationship coach, I would actually say that 95% of my clients have found their ideal man through the dating apps. However, if you're really opposed to the apps and you are determined not to do them, I also want you to know that because we're going to be talking about the energetics of dating rather than the strategies, tricks, and techniques, that much of what I'm going to be talking about is highly relevant to offline dating as well. So do stay with me. Okay, so this is where you get to comment again. Let's start with the specific problems with online dating and what you might be experiencing right now. So please comment in this feed if this is you. Perhaps you can't meet anyone that you like or anyone decent online. Perhaps you only seem to meet men who are after sex, men who you're not attracted to, men who are too far away, or men who never actually ask you out. So raise a hand if that's you. Perhaps you can't actually get to a date, and the same old conversations just fizzle out, leaving you feeling bored and demotivated. Again, raise a hand if that's you. Perhaps you get dates and you meet guys who seem great, but then they ghost you after the first, the second, or even the fourth or fifth date. Again, just keep the comments coming. Perhaps you've met some nice men, but there's just no intimacy or no chemistry. Put your hand up for that one. Perhaps dating affects your mental and emotional health and just puts you in a really bad mood. Perhaps it makes you want to either give up altogether or else it makes you feel anxious and unstable as you plow on. Perhaps this has been going on for years and you feel stuck in a never-ending pattern or cycle from which you don't seem to escape. Or perhaps you've been in relationship for years and you haven't gotten back out there yet simply because it just feels so terrifying. I know there's at least 1 or 2 of you who are in this place. And perhaps that relationship destroyed your confidence, which makes things even harder. I totally get that one. Or perhaps, as I said earlier, you're one of these people that doesn't want to use the apps anymore, but you have no idea where else or how to meet good available men, and so you're feeling a bit stuck. I am just going to check the comments thread and my Facebook group again to check that I am still live. It's asking me to comment, but I'm not going to. All right. So thanks so much. I can see that people are really engaging. Now, if you're stuck in one or more of these places, I totally and utterly relate. But the good news is all of this can be addressed and changed when you understand the principles involved in dating from the highest, most exalted version of yourself. Now, what I mean by this is your most emotionally resilient, aware, integrated, intuitive, and confident version of yourself, which in turn becomes entirely possible when you heal your self-sabotaging beliefs and behaviors, which is exactly what we're going to be focusing on tonight. So tonight we're going to be looking in depth at how to heal your blocks to love through the dating process. Because healing isn't just about working on yourself by yourself or with a therapist or through self-development classes and courses. Dating and relating to men can be one of the most powerful vehicles via which to heal, simply because it is so vulnerable that it will bring up all of your stuff. It will bring up your wounds, your limiting beliefs, your attachment style, all of it. But all of these can be healed and overcome through the process of taking healthier action as you date. So tomorrow, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what the process of taking healthier action looks like and the steps that you need to take to walk the path to effortlessly meeting your ideal man. And then on Thursday, we're going to dive even deeper and explore how to how to attract love using your feminine power, which is something that every single woman on this call has, but perhaps doesn't realize it or know how to harness it and use it effectively. Now, before we get to the main teaching point, I just want to acknowledge that some of you are here for a second or even a third time. And by now, you're probably thinking, oh, all of this sounds a bit familiar. I've done this before, and so perhaps I don't need to do it again. However, if this is you, I would invite you to consider that the material in this course is really dense. And whilst it's easy for me to explain it, it's much, much harder to put into practice. And so if you're circling back to this course after 6 months or a year, it's because you haven't yet been able to integrate the theory and put it into practice. Now, I'm saying this with absolutely no judgment because it took me a long time to integrate all the stuff that I'm going to be teaching you this week to the point where it changed my love life. So listening to it again is going to be highly valuable because it's also the case that we hear and see things from a different angle depending on where we're at in our lives. Now, one final point before we get to the actual teaching. I'm going to be completely transparent with you and tell you that as we go through the next 3 days, I will be making you an offer and letting you know how you can work with me more deeply on this material so that you can really master it and integrate it, so that you have the actual practical tools to put the theory into practice, so that you can up level your love life and find and keep your ideal man, because that's what you're all here for, right? So let me have a drink of water and then we will dive into the first teaching point. Okay, and it's really super great to see so many of you here. Okay, so I've already said that I want to teach you this week the energetic principles of dating. But now I want to go a little bit further with this idea and let you know that what I'm going to be talking about is embracing your feminine energy as you date. And the way that I define feminine energy is that which feels really good to you at a deep soul level, taking into account your body, your heart, and your mind. Now, there's a lot of misinformation out there about both feminine and masculine energy and what these terms mean. And a lot of coaches will teach you various feminine tricks and strategies that you can put into practice as you date. So these are things that will be very familiar to you, things like not chasing, allowing him to lead, not sleeping with him too soon, etc., etc. But the problem with this kind of advice is that it misses a fundamental truth. And that truth is that the feminine isn't about doing, it's about being. It's not a strategy, it's an essence that you can come to embody and experience life through. So let's clarify something. Every single human being has masculine and feminine qualities, regardless of their gender. We might say that masculine qualities are things like being productive, rational, and goal-oriented. Okay? Linear as well would come into that. Whereas feminine qualities are things like being intuitive, creative, embodied, emotional, and cyclical. Okay? Now, in today's world, we can and need to be both. However, as women, so many of us have internalized society's deep mistrust of feminine qualities. And so we judge ourselves for having them, right? So for things like being too emotional and perhaps needy or too much, for needing downtime and for our emotional and physical cycles in general, we're perhaps scared to be too soft, too open, or too gentle because it feels dangerous in this masculine world in which we live. And we tend not to trust our intuition because we've spent a long time distancing ourselves from our bodies and our feelings just so that we can get by. And if we feel stronger emotions like anger or fury, then God forbid, because in society's view, women who express these things are generally seen as problematic. Now, critically, we are also highly afraid very often to express our desires. We perhaps feel that our desires are dangerous. They might take us out of control, or simply that having desires makes us too much. And all this fear and mistrust of our feminine side manifests when we're dating. We override our intuition. We're afraid to express our desires. We're scared to be vulnerable and open our hearts. And pretty much every single woman I know secretly fears that she is too much. So put your hand up if that's you and you relate to that one. All of this mental chatter, however, is actually what I would describe as being our inner masculine aspect, or perhaps even our inner patriarch, trying to control and suppress our feminine attributes so that we can get on and live in what is largely still a male-dominated world. So I want you to imagine that psychologically or internally, your inner masculine, or you might want to define it as your head-based energy, is sitting on top of your inner feminine, or perhaps you might want to define it as your heart or body-based energy. And this masculine is trying to keep her under control, right, for fear of what might happen if she comes out. But this week, I would like to propose a different model. So instead of the inner masculine controlling and sitting on top of your inner feminine, I'd like you to imagine that you could shift it around so that the masculine is sitting underneath her, supporting her to rise and shine as the radiant, sensual, and feeling being that she is. Because here's the kicker about most dating advice. Because there is so much misinformation about dating from your feminine energy, most women that I know are so scared of being in their masculine as they date that their version of being in their feminine feels like being in an emotional straitjacket. All that advice not to chase, to allow him to take the lead, etc., ends up meaning that women that follow this advice feel that they can't express themselves or take any action at all. And so their feminine essence, which we can perhaps think of as being like a flower, starts to wilt until it withers and dies, frankly. So what we're going to do next is we're going to explore in more detail exactly how this inner masculine oppression of the feminine manifests in dating so that you can start moving away from the behaviors that are based on this wonky internal dynamic because they are holding you back, trust me. So there are 6 bad dating mindsets, let's put it that way, that are based in your internal masculine suppression of your feminine. And what I'd like you to do now is to take a note of these and write them down, but particularly write down the ones that you relate to, and that you know you're guilty of, right? And share them in the comments with the other ladies. All right. So bad energetic practice, I can't quite think what to call these. Number 1 is the hustle. Okay. So this is when you are constantly on the go and you treat dating like a numbers game, right? Now, what this means is that you override your feelings and your intuition as you date. And you don't take any time to pause, to reflect, to integrate, or to learn after or in between each date. Now, eventually what happens is that this leads to a lot of stress and anxiety because when we don't pause to integrate and learn what's going on in our dating experience, the pattern tends to be that each date starts to feel like a bad repeat of the past, right? And so ultimately, you end up burning out, you want to give up altogether, and you collapse into avoidance. And this is bad dating mindset number 2, avoidance. Now, avoidance is your inner masculine protecting your feminine essence, which is your heart-based energy, from potential hurt and disappointment by avoiding dating altogether. Now, whilst taking a break from dating can be healthy to reconnect with yourself, prolonged avoidance can lead to disconnection, loneliness, and this persistent but painful yearning for intimacy. Now, some people go through this cycle of, and it's kind of a bulimic cycle of hustle and then avoidance, right? So they do take time limited breaks to heal, in inverted commas, but in reality, these breaks are more about survival than anything else. They might even feel depressing or like numbing out. When that gets too much, though, they go back into dating again from a place of hustle. And so the cycle repeats all over again. So please remember, ladies, that it is extremely challenging to heal on your own and in isolation. I hear so many women say that they're taking time out to heal, but years later, I still see them in my Facebook group and they're still not ready to open their hearts. The third bad energetic mindset is settling. Now, this is when your inner masculine, logical brain bargains with your inner feminine, heart energy, by telling her to accept less than she truly desires. This might look like going for hookups, unavailable men, or dating people that you're just not that into. But this bargaining behavior mostly leads to cynicism, jadedness, and a lack of satisfaction and fulfillment. And when you operate from this standpoint, you tend to conclude that you're doing this because the dating field is sparse. But that's not necessarily the case. It's more that you're wasting valuable time and energy on the wrong kinds of men and leaving nothing in terms of time and energy left over or any space in your life for the right man to come in. And your inner feminine is kind of dying inside before she even gives herself the opportunity to meet Mr. Right. And all of this is because your inner masculine is doing this rather than upholding standards for your feminine. All right. Bad dating, energetic mindset / habit is over sexualization. And it's number 3. Is it number 3 or number 4? No, it's number 4, I think. Okay, I've got my numbers wrong. You ladies keep a track, okay? So whichever habit it is, it's over sexualization. Now, this is when your inner masculine believes that your highest feminine currency lies in satisfying men's sexuality. So you have perhaps an overly sexualized presence online, you indulge in sexting when it's not really what you want, and perhaps you sleep with men because you believe that that's what will keep them interested, and perhaps it's all you're good for anyway. And it's so painful to be in that place because I know, and you know, that you are so, so much more than that. All right, what number? Yeah, we're on number 5. Okay. So, bad dating habit number 5 is game playing. So, as we've already discussed, because of all the advice that's out there, you might be following strategies like don't chase, don't lead, don't express your desire, lean back, play it cool, all the rest of it, right? But when you are focused on tricks, techniques, and strategies, believing that this is what makes you feminine, you're actually in your head, right? You're still in your masculine energy rather than in your heart. And as I said before, your true feminine essence becomes limp, undernourished, and sad because she can't express herself. And the feminine is all about expression, right? And the other problem is that dating tends to become a waiting game with no end, and you're left wondering, why didn't he call? Why didn't he text? Why didn't he ask me out? Why didn't he kiss me? Why didn't he take me on a date? And the truth is, he's not doing those things because he can't feel you, right? He can't feel the woman that you are. Okay, the 6th bad dating energetic mindset habit is over focusing on negative evidence. Now, for your inner masculine, it is easy to document all the disappointing evidence, the fake profiles, the ghosting, and the unavailable people, because he is a data-driven chap. And he likes to say things like, well, I'll believe it when I see it, right? But I'd like you to consider this maxim. What you put your attention on grows. Where you put your attention in life is highly important because the more you focus on something, the more you're going to see it and the more headspace it's going to take up. So, how about this? Instead of saying, I'll believe it when I see it, could you, even just for this week, experiment with, I will see it when I believe it? And hold your feminine desires as sacred, trusting that belief, right? Rather than the protective and somewhat cynical masculine aspect of yourself. Because the thing is, ladies, is that dating from a place of self-respect and truly honoring your feminine desires, needs, and wants involves developing some higher vibrational beliefs. And these beliefs are things like, I am worthy of being me through and through. And another one, whatever happens around me in the dating field, I am committed to my radiance and to being fully self-expressed. Now, when you can fully integrate and embody these beliefs, so you know the truth of them, right, in your bones, right? And when you date from that place, you will absolutely be amazed by how the losers just fade away and quality men are drawn in. You might not believe it right now, but by valuing yourself and staying true to your desires, you are creating a space for genuine and fulfilling connections. Honestly, this shit works. Okay, I'm going to attempt to do something technical in a minute. So bear with me if it goes just slightly wrong. But I want to tell you this. Back when I ran this course in September of 2023, a lady called Anne followed up by signing up for my 12-week program, which is called The Art of Electric Dating. She was burnt out after a divorce. She was coping with single motherhood and a demanding career. And during one of our sessions, she told me, and it was hilarious, that when she first heard me speak, she thought it sounded like witchcraft. But she suspended her disbelief and signed up anyway. And now 18 months later, if I've got the maths right, she is a year into a relationship or with an emotionally intelligent man with whom she has amazing chemistry and amazing sex, and they are planning their future together. So I'm now going to attempt to share my screen and show you and testimonial, just so that you know that I am not making this up. And I always get slightly flustered by the screen share business, but here we go. So we're going to be talking about shining your light brightly in more detail as we go on. But basically, this is Anne saying that she had an amazing date with a man who shone right back at her and intrigued her. This was quite early on in their relationship. She's saying thank you, and even her friends can see how she's changing and the differences that are taking place in her life. And this slide, I haven't got my timescale exactly right, but 9 months later, I think this was when she wrote it, I'm in a new and exclusive relationships, thanks to the work I did with you, Emma Lorraine Pask, 2 years single after a 26-year relationship marriage. Now I'm enjoying embarking on my new relationship. So 2 years after a 26-year marriage is not a long time to be single and to go on to find your ideal man. So, whatever you think of what I'm saying, I'm inviting you to keep an open mind for these 3 days. Remember, when you believe it, you will see it, because transformation always starts from within. And tomorrow, I'm going to be sharing my personal story of how I changed my mindset, dropped into my feminine energy, honored her, and saw my love life transform too. It felt like walking through walls. So I know that if I can do it, then you can do it too. But here is the $64,000 question. Has your feminine energy, and type in the comments, be really open, really honest, has your feminine energy even gotten off the starting board when it comes to dating? Are you dating from a place of pleasure, intuition, and wisdom? And what might happen if you did? How do you think that things might play out differently? So here's another key principle to remember. You might want to write it down. This one tends to stay with people. This is the principle. It's the one that Anne was referring to in her comments. And the principle is shine your light so brightly that somebody else shining their light brightly can find you. Okay? Shine your light so brightly that somebody else shining their light brightly can find you. Okay, so over the next 3 days, we're going to explore this idea in more detail with some hands-on exercises. Now, as I said earlier, I'm also going to be offering you the chance to join my 12-week program, The Art of Electric Dating. It's designed to help you break free from unhelpful dating habits, to cultivate your feminine energy, and to meet your ideal partner from a new empowered place. And it's broken down into 3 sections. The first is about getting free of the garbage and getting ready for love. The second is about setting yourself up for successful dating. So that's about choosing the right apps or app, creating a standout magnetic dating profile, and also knowing which men are worth your time and which ones aren't. And then the third section is about meeting your ideal partner and nurturing commitment. And as one past client put it, this is so much more than a dating course. It's about healing, it's about feminine empowerment, and it's beautiful. And we are now going to go back to shared screen. And there we go, because I just want to show you that these are real people who have gone through the course and experienced it. It's not just me making things up. All right, so we need to go to the next bit. So let's get back to this idea of shining your light so brightly that somebody else shining his light brightly can find you. I want you to imagine a world in which you're not reacting to shitty behavior online or in real life, because instead you are focused on your own true north, i.e., you are in creation rather than in reaction. It's as though you're a lighthouse. You are shining your light so brightly that that ship can come in over the rocks and find its safe harbor. Now, the posture, we're going to talk about an energetic posture now. The posture that you need to assume to be able to do this is one in which you have an upright but flexible spine which supports an open and available heart. Now, in this posture, your masculine energy is the spine, which provides the structure and the standards, but the spine is also a little flexible, right? So it's kind of not rigid and really kind of hard or dogmatic. And your feminine energy is the open heart that is willing to be led and is open also to like a little surprise. Like she knows what she wants, but there's a kind of, she's open to an element of surprise as well. Now, a critical ingredient in this posture is your desire. You trust in this posture, and actually, maybe if you're listening to it, you could just try assuming that posture as you're sitting. So, just elongating your spine, maybe rolling back your shoulders, having a little wiggle, and just feeling that heart energy being able to come out, right? So, to assume this posture as we're dating, you have to make friends with your desire, right? You have to know what you want. You have to be able to trust that you can have what you want. You don't settle for less. And your intuition, because this also allows your tummy area to be open as well, your intuition guides you as to who to invest energy in. So, contrary to what many people believe, desire lives in the feminine realm. And I could do a whole other live stream on this. In fact, I have in the past. Men are massively drawn to women who can express their desire in a clean, open-hearted, and generous way. I'm going to qualify that. Good men are massively drawn to these types of women, okay? Now, when your inner masculine and feminine aspects are out of balance, like I've previously described, it distorts the lighthouse posture. And what happens is that you can end up either leaning too far forward as you date, like kind of anxiously trying to manage dating situations, or leaning too far back and withholding, closing your heart and playing it cool. So another way of looking at this posture of an upright, flexible spine and open heart is that it represents secure attachment, right? It also represents emotional resilience and a certain stillness and confidence that will keep you sane, grounded, and in trust and faith, no matter what the dating apps throw up. I've already mentioned it represents secure attachment. And again, that could be a whole other big subject, but it's basically the science of how human beings connect and relate to one another, particularly in intimate relationships. But secure attachment is the foundation for healthy intimate relationships. And I'm going to go on to explain what insecure attachment looks like in a bit. So, in my 12-week program, The Art of Electric Dating, I teach you how to embody this posture, not just as an experiment on a live stream, but as you go through the dating process. And I also teach about secure attachment and how to relate from that securely attached place in a lot more depth, giving you as well practical exercises to develop these skills. And just as a heads up, you can take the course as a self-study program with group coaching or with one-to-one coaching. So whatever your budget, availability, or level of commitment is, there is an option to suit you. And I also offer extremely generous payment plans. Okay, so let's get back to doing some interactive work together. We're going to dive deeper into some more bad dating habits because actually the six that I ran through earlier, as I said, I wasn't quite sure what to call them, but they're really more kind of like mindset slash energetic habits. Whereas the next ones I'm going to be running through are about specific behaviors. And this next set of specific behaviors relate back to this idea of the posture because these next 13, there are 13 of them, bad dating habits are related to either leaning too far forward, which is anxious, insecure attachment, or leaning too far back, which is avoidant, insecure attachment. And there's also some people, and I have definitely had my own journey with this, who flip-flop about between the two, sometimes anxious, sometimes attachment. And in the attachment theory world, this is known as fearful avoidance. So people who are sometimes anxious and other times avoidant. So again, please write down on a piece of paper or share in the group which ones you are guilty of. And I want you to do this because after we complete this particular list, I'm going to be taking you through another 2 stages of this exercise. So it's really important to keep a note of the ones that you are guilty of or that you recognize in yourself, because you're going to need to refer back to them because we're going to go underneath a couple of levels and explore even more deeply. So, in this section of our workshop, bad dating habit number 1 is rotational dating. Now, that might be a surprise to you because I know a lot of dating coaches recommend this on the grounds that it will keep the anxiously attached person from getting invested too soon. But actually, keeping things casual and non-committed out of the fear of vulnerability is leaning too far back. It's avoidant behavior or fearful avoidant behavior because it's a strategy, masculine strategy, to protect your heart when you can't trust yourself to date from the posture I've described, i.e., from an empowered, energetic standpoint. The second bad habit, so write that one down, write them all down, ladies. The second bad habit is negotiating with your desire, i.e., it's being in what I call compensatory desire rather than honoring the truth of your heart. Now, this shows up as accepting lovers, friends with benefits situations, or perhaps sex chat when what you really want is true emotional intimacy. It's again fearful avoidant, that flip-flopping behavior, because you're leaning too far back emotionally to protect yourself from love, but leaning too far forward in terms of your behavior to please men. And really, it masks anxiety and low self-belief. Okay, the third bad dating habit is overriding your intuition. Now, this might look like going on dates when you're not feeling it, or ignoring red flags in the name of chemistry, or staying in something even though it doesn't feel right and actually it makes you feel like shit, right? So this is leaning too far forward and anxious attachment because you're doing things in the name of the relationship and to connect rather in the name of what is really good for your body, mind, heart, and soul. The fourth bad dating habit is dishonesty. Now, this can start very early on by telling tiny little white lies about on your dating profile, right? Maybe it's lying about your age, maybe it's lying about your weight, or maybe it's posting filtered photos, right? Or perhaps it's further got on into the dating and relating process because you're lying about or withholding, which is also a version really of telling a little white lie, your relationship desires. So you might be withholding the fact that you want a long-term committed relationship or the fact that you want children, right? So it's emotionally anxious, but behaviorally avoidant. You're withholding essential information about yourself, which is avoidant, but it's because you're anxious, right? And it's avoidant because by withholding, you're literally cutting yourself off at the knees in terms of being able to experience authentic, honest connection. Now, the fifth is interrogating potential partners. I've seen so many women do this. So this might look like asking way too many questions during the texting phase, grilling them about what they're looking for and about their ability to commit, right? Rather than letting things unfold organically, right? And maybe even in the first 2 or 3 days, you might be doing that. It might not just be about texting. So again, behaviorally, you're leaning too far forward, but emotionally, you're leaning too far back because you're being hyper vigilant, right? Your masculine mind is firing on all cylinders, trying to protect your heart. So again, this behavior is both anxious and avoidant. And when you do this, you are not in that position of the upright spine and the open, available heart. The sixth bad habit is a variation on bad habit number 5. And this is when you try way too hard on dates. I used to do this all the time. You ask too many questions, you prop the conversation up, and you go into some kind of performance, maybe even, rather than being able to stay present and in flow. And this one definitely comes from anxiety and in leaning too far forward. Bad habit number 7 is withholding altogether. This is for the ice maidens out there, okay? So this might show up as waiting a certain amount of time before texting him in case he thinks you're too keen, or making him do so much of the running that he feels like he's throwing himself against the walls of your castle. It's leaning too far back because you're not allowing yourself to be self-expressed and allowing your desire to be felt. And as I said earlier, your feminine is probably quietly dying inside somewhere. It's avoidant behavior, but it actually masks an anxious question, which is, am I okay? Or am I too much? I better keep myself in this emotional straitjacket for a little bit longer. Bad habit number 8 is allowing last minute, low effort dates. If he's not making the effort to plan a proper date and he's taking you to McDonald's or arranging a date on a motorway service station or turning up late for a booty call, like I've heard so many of my clients tell me about these things, he's not likely to put the effort in later down the line either. So accepting crumbs and flaky behavior is another way in which you're not upholding your standards and you are negotiating with your true desire and falling into compensatory behavior. So again, it's anxiously attached behavior because you're leaning too far forward to try to get the relationship rather than really being in your power. Bad habit number 9 is the opposite of number 8, and it's another example of leaning too far back and being somewhat avoidant. And this is when you schedule super short 30-minute dates or back-to-back dates in the same day. And it's leaning too far back and avoidant because it tends to come again from this self-protective, hyper-vigilant mindset and lack of trust in the process. It's likely that you are already preparing to be disappointed, right? That's why you're keeping it short, moving on to the next, okay? If you don't allow space for the connection to unfold, then you're not really allowing space for your future life partner to show up. And this habit also comes off as a little bit controlling and frankly emasculating to men. So don't do it. Okay. All right. Bad habit number 10 is getting into sexual behaviors too soon. If you want a lasting relationship, ask yourself if these sexual dynamics that you're involved in are how you want it to start. Like, is your future life partner going to ask you for sexy pics before he's even met you? I want to make this really, really straightforward for you to understand. The more you tolerate the kinds of interactions that take you further away from your true north, the more jaded, hurt, and desperate you're going to end up feeling. And every time you have an experience that takes you into the jungle of Southeast and Southwest, it is going to chip away at your confidence, your self-belief, and your belief in love. It's extremely energetically costly. So if you're doing this because you believe it's what men want, I'm going back to sex now, or it's all you can get, you're very much leaning too far forward and you're off center. And the same goes for bad habit number 11, which is going to his house straight away on a first date. This is leaning way too far forward because if you want to cultivate a healthy, committed love that lasts, you actually really need to get intentional, sorry, about the pace and be engaged with setting that pace from the very first date. So I'm just going to pause here because I don't want anyone to think that I'm not sex positive. If you want to have sex, have sex. I have absolutely no judgment. But if you're looking for love, you might want to play your cards in a slightly different order. So, a question to ask yourself is this: am I putting this man in the boyfriend camp, or am I putting him in the friends with benefits camp? Because having a friends with benefits camp is fine, but men can't be in both camps at the same time because each camp operates by different principles and rules. Okay, bad habit number 12 is solely pursuing very attractive partners, very attractive men, often online because the internet is a visual medium, rather than also looking for emotional, intellectual, and conversational connection. Now, often what I find is that when women are fixated on looks, it can be because deep down they don't really believe that they're attractive. And so they go for extremely good looking men in order to validate themselves. And they place a high value on this rather than on all the other aspects of the connection. All right. So the final bad habit number 13 is avoiding dating altogether. And I know there are some of you out there who are doing this. Your heart is closed, your legs are closed. It is all getting a little bit dusty down there. Now, there are lots of understandable reasons for this, but it is over time hyper avoidance. Because, ladies, there is no way around it. If you want love, you have to be willing to be vulnerable. So, what I'd like you to do, and I'm just going to check in the chat, loads and loads of comments, fantastic, is to write down in the chat your top 3 bad dating habits. Okay, because as I've said, there are 2 more stages to this exercise. And for the remainder of the night, I'm going to be taking you through 2 more exercises to explore where these bad habits are coming from, i.e., what are the underlying limiting beliefs driving the bad habits, and what fears are underlying the limiting beliefs. Now, why is this important? Well, in order to change bad habits, we have to understand their roots. It's a bit like weeding a garden. If you don't pull the weeds out by the roots, they will simply grow back. So please, please do make sure that you stay for the next bit because it's really important to get all the way through to the root of things. Because once you've pulled those weeds up and gotten rid of them for good, that is when you can plant some new flowers and create a beautiful garden. And that's what we're going to be moving on to discussing tomorrow. But right now, I'm going to go back to share screen and I'm just going to quickly run you through the Art of Electric Dating, which is my 12-week dating program for those of you who are already interested in taking this work further. So again, guys, bear with me as I click around. And oh, hey presto, here we go. I am on it. I am sharing my screen, except I need it to be slightly bigger at my end. Okay, hold on. Okay, so it is a 3-month course to help you effortlessly meet your ideal man, to have fun as you're dating, to be able to approach it with confidence, to be free of pain and frustration around men and the dating apps. And as I've said, there are 3 steps. That's step 1. This is step 2. And this is step 3. But what I'd like, and here are some more testimonials, I have them coming out of my ears. What I'd like to do now is just break down the 3 steps and show you the different modules. There are 9 modules altogether. Each one includes a very in-depth training, 60 to 90 minutes each, and a workbook packed full of transformational exercises. So first we look at getting past your fear and dislike of online dating and embracing it from this feminine, empowered place. The second module is about healing and learning from the past. Remember, I said it's really, really important to take the time to learn and to integrate from our past experiences. And a lot of women get stuck because they don't quite realize that they're still holding a lot of stuff from their past relationships in their hearts and in their nervous systems. So once we've cleared out all this stuff, we do an amazingly powerful exercise called the relationship blueprint exercise, which is all about getting crystal clear on your ideal man. And I'm going to be going into more detail on that tomorrow, but trust me, it goes way deeper than just making a list. Okay. Then this is fairly straightforward, how to choose the right app, how to create a standout magnetic dating profile. That means that you get your inbox flooding with interesting messages from quality masculine men. And understanding exactly who to talk to and who not to. And this is a really big piece about working with your intuition, which again, we're going to go on and cover over the next couple of days. Um, we look at how you can get off that treadmill of boring text message conversations, have them feel fun, flirty, they go deeper, they lead to fun first dates within a week or two maximum. And then these final two sessions are about building momentum. So that's that thing about setting the pace, but also being in flow with a new man at a vulnerable time when you're first getting to know him. And critically, knowing when it's the right time to sleep with him, which I have kind of referred to a little bit already tonight. So those are the 9 modules, and you can do it at 3 different levels. You can do the bronze, silver, or gold level, and you will get all of that with each of those levels, lifetime access to all the materials, but also lifetime access to a VIP Facebook group, which is a smaller group where I will actually pop in there and give you coaching, right? I don't coach in my free groups. But I do coach in this group, in this private Facebook group. Now you can see that the bronze version here is 297, but you can pay up to over 5 months and it's just £60 a month, right? Now, with the silver version, you get 9 group coaching sessions. They're 2 hours long each. They're on a Monday evening. And I'll talk more about the group coaching, but you also get 4 special bonus trainings, which I'm going to go into in a minute. And with the gold version, you get 10 one-to-one coaching sessions with me, 60 minutes each. Now, the group coaching version is 888, but again, you can pay in 10 monthly installments of just £88, so it's super, super affordable. And with the gold version, not only do you get the 10 sessions, but you get weekly questionnaires sent to you in advance so that we can use our time as effectively as possible on the call, so that when we arrive on the call, you're diving in. We're both diving in with a certain level of clarity and knowledge. And I will also look at your dating profile and, as I said earlier on, personally edit and review it, help you choose the best pictures. I actually have an MA in creative writing, so I'm pretty good at writing, and I know how to do this. And you get those 4 bonus trainings as well. So that one is 100 and wasn't it? It's not 1,797, but again, you can pay in 10 monthly installments of 180 because I really want to make this as accessible to as many people as possible. If you're paying attention, you'll notice that if you pay in full, there are bonus calls, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and you get a full extra 11th session with the gold version. And here are these special bonus trainings if you sign up for gold or silver. So those are fairly self-explanatory. Again, they are in-depth, between 60 and 90 minutes long. In fact, I think Never Get Ghosted Again actually ran to 2 hours. So, and I take you through practical exercises on those workshops. So there's a huge amount of value there. So I'm just going to stop the share for a minute, and tell you that if you are the type of person who can stay motivated, who is self-sufficient, who is good at studying, then the bronze version will be absolutely fantastic for you. Lots of women have taken the bronze version, they've gotten a huge amount out of it. However, there are huge benefits to working with me either in a group or one-to-one. And those benefits are you get to see your blind spots. It's very, very, very difficult to see your own blind spots. You have accountability, right, to actually finish the program. You get support in real time with various situations that are coming up as you date. And we also get to go deeper because actually some of this work around healing your attachment, being in your feminine energy, like it is deep work, and sometimes you need to just stay in one place and work with one thing for a little bit longer. And you might not be aware of that should you do the self-study version. So, was there anything else that I was going to say about all of that? I don't think there was. But I do just want to mention this for the people that are circling back to this for the second or third time. If you're circling back to this free course for the second or third time, you probably want to be asking yourself, what was it that I didn't do last time that means that I'm back here? Why is my love life still not the way that I want it to be after 6 months, a year, 18 months, whatever it is? Is now the time to make the leap and put some money on the table? Because the other thing that I'm going to tell you, ladies, is that whatever your patterns are in relationship, whether you're anxious or avoidant or flip-flop between the two, or you have trust issues or whatever, they're all going to come up at the point that you think about stepping in and getting some support, right? If you don't trust intimacy, you're probably not going to trust that I can support you either. Right? If you're really kind of anxious and insecure about things, again, it might be a trust issue. You might not you might think, oh, Emma sounds really good, but maybe it's not going to work for me. Right? So there are all sorts of ways. So just observe what's coming up in you now that you've seen the information and you're thinking, if you're thinking, oh, I haven't got any money, or maybe you're stuck in a scarcity mindset because these kinds of amounts of money, I imagine that most people can find on a payment plan. So watch what's coming up for you as you consider this option. All right, quick screen share. These are Yep, this is Julie. So Julie did the bronze course, and then just before Christmas of this year, she got in touch with me and decided to book the 10 one-to-one sessions and upgrade to gold. And she's just validating what I've already told you, really, which is she got a lot out of listening to the course, but when you're actually in conversation, you learn so much more about yourself. And Julie was stuck in a pattern of attracting bad boys and not being able to spot them. And when we did all the work on her attachment, her intuition, her feminine energy, she actually got into a relationship just in January with a great guy. And the last I heard, it was going super, super well. So that's Julie. Stacey realized very early on, these are very early testimonials, that there's nothing wrong with her. She'd make a pretty damn good partner or girlfriend for the right person. She's been working with owning her desire, and she knows what she wants and deserves. So she just needs to learn how to start shining her light bright, which she did. We'll come back to her in a minute. I haven't updated these testimonials for a while. I meant to do this earlier today. I ran out of time, but Laura was in the silver program. She did it a couple of times. The last I heard from her, in the big Facebook group, she is now with somebody. She feels like she's living her dream. Her king came in, he bought her flowers. I really needed to upgrade this testimonial and I just ran out of time. But she says if you're on the fence about working with Emma, you won't regret it. Now here's another Emma. Oh no, here's Stacey. So I got in touch with Stacey to see if she might want some coaching after she did the self-study version, but she was already done with dating. because they were 3 months in and going official. And another Emma couldn't be happier. She also did the bronze version when it was very first brought out, but things are going really well for her. I couldn't be happier. And she was writing this in the Art of Electric Dating Facebook group. She wanted everybody to know that there's hope for all of us out there. And the last I got in touch with her just to check in, see if she wanted some coaching was, as you can see, September of 2024. It's going really well, thank you. We've been together now just over a year. Now, yeah, that is it. So we'll stop that share and come back to the material. So hopefully a bunch of you are still with me. We lost a few people, but there's still 20 people here, which is fantastic. So let's go deeper. You are the ladies who are going to reap the most rewards from this evening. We're going to now ask, so I want you to go back to the top 3 bad dating habits that you just made a note of, either in the feed or on a piece of paper. And I want you to kind of just take a moment to reflect, what is the limiting belief that is driving this bad habit? So if you're lying about your age on the dating site, the limiting belief, and I'm choosing this one because I did it myself when I was 38, which was stupid. But the limiting belief might be that if I put my real age on my profile, men will judge me negatively or reject me. If your bad habit is sex chat, then your limiting belief might be, if I don't get involved in sex chat, then men will lose interest. If your bad habit is negotiating with your desire and falling into compensatory desires, then your limiting belief might be, if I narrow down my search to what I really want, then I won't be able to find it because I don't really believe that it exists. Okay? And if your bad habit is avoiding the internet altogether, then perhaps the limiting belief might be, if I go online and open up to the possibility of love, I'm going to get hurt. So if you're feeling brave, and I'm running through this bit a little fast now because we've gone over the hour already, but if you have a eureka moment, or if you're feeling brave, like pop down what your limiting belief is about each of those 3 bad habits that you have identified. What is the limiting belief that is driving it? Pop it in the comments, because every time a woman is vulnerable enough to share, she actually gives another woman permission to be vulnerable too. And this is how we create connection. This is how we create community, even if it's just an online community for now. All right. I'm going to just give you a moment because that was quite a deep thing for me to ask you to do. Oh, I've lost. Okay, my phone. I was just going to see if anybody's posted anything. There's a delay. Okay, I'm not getting anything through at the moment, but keep them coming. I'm sure everybody else is really, really appreciating you for sharing. So I've been blathering to give you a little bit of time to do this. But what I want you to do next, and maybe if you're not quite there, you can finish this off in your own time. But what I want you to do next is to look at the fear that sits under the limiting belief. So I'll go back to my examples. So the belief is, if I put my real age on my profile, men will judge me negatively and reject me, right? Yeah, so that's the limiting belief, right? So I'm just reading my notes. So the limiting belief is, men will judge me negatively and reject me. And the fear that might be driving that belief is, I'm too old or I'm too undesirable for love. Okay. If getting into sex chat is the bad habit, the belief might be, if I don't get involved with sex chat, then men will lose interest. So then the fear might be, I'm only valued for sex, I'm not wanted for anything else about me, and I'm not lovable. Okay. If the Bad habit is negotiating with your desire and not holding out for what it is that you really want. And because the belief is that you won't be able to find it because it doesn't exist, the fear driving that belief might be, I'm not worthy of having what I want. There's too much competition out there for what I want. And other women are more worthy of that man than me. Okay. If avoiding the internet altogether is the bad habit, and the belief is that if I go out there and put myself out there, I will get hurt, then the fear that is driving that belief might be, I won't survive intimacy. I can't trust myself. I'm too fragile. I'm going to get hurt. I've been hurt in the past. I can't recover. It's too much. Why would it be different this time around? Like, that's avoiding the internet altogether is actually, or avoiding dating altogether is actually one of the biggest fears, right? Because when we're not doing it, we get to stay protected. Okay, why are we doing this? Again, okay, some people are putting some things in the, yep, okay, so people are identifying their bad habits. I'm not, I think because there's a delay, I am not yet seeing the beliefs and the fears, but keep them coming. So why are we doing this? What results can you expect when you work to overcome your fears and change your limiting beliefs? Well, you might have heard of the law of attraction. And what this says is that fear begets fear. So, coming from a limiting belief that is born from fear will get you the kind of result that is based on that fear. So, for example, if you fear that you're not lovable and you're only good for sex, you will put out that sexual energy to men. You'll get involved in sexual behaviors and dynamics very early on and give men that exact message, ladies, that this is about sex rather than about love, because men do not exchange sex for love in the same way that we do. If you give out that energy, they'll think, okay, this is sex. They can compartmentalize. Okay, I got very passionate there, right? But you see how it works? And that's just one example. There are hundreds of others. What you put in is what you will get out, right? But let me tell you how it works when you act like the lighthouse that we were discussing earlier. So I worked with a client, Ruth, a few years ago. She hooked into the shine your light brightly, or shine your light so brightly that someone else shining their light brightly can find you phrase. And she really, really took it to heart, right? She made it her mantra. She operated it, she took it on, she lived by it, she dated by it. Within about 8 weeks of her following the exact same methodology that I'm teaching on the art of electric dating, she found her now partner. And yes, she did have to plow through some dross on the internet along the way. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but she gave that dross zero energy, right? I'm getting really like hyper here. I almost want to say the F word. She gave it zero fucking energy, ladies, right? Because she knew exactly what she wanted and she had complete trust and faith that she was going to find it. They had an amazing first date. Within a year, they were both selling their properties and moving in with one another. She has three teenage kids. They now have, well, I think they're older now. They're kind of at university and in their early 20s. But they had a beautiful blended family for a while. I see them online all the time. They do things like fundraising walks for charity and all sorts of other amazing things because just recently I saw that they'd rented their house out for a year and headed off to travel the world together. Now, Ruth was just a normal woman like all of us here. She was nothing special. She just decided to invest in herself and put this philosophy into practice with the tools that I teach and with my personal support. And for a time, whenever I posted the shine your light brightly phrase in my main Facebook group, you would see Ruth pop up and go, hell yeah. Okay, because as I said, it literally became her mantra. And when she lived and operated by it, she was able to very quickly get rid of the men that didn't fit her vision and effortlessly attract the love of her life. And she was somebody who'd had 2 previous abusive, toxic relationships. I'm going to post her testimonial in our Facebook group tomorrow so you can see it. You don't need to spend time on men that you feel indifferent around. You just need to find the one that you feel excited by. Okay. I'll also send Ruth's story out in an email so you can see for yourselves. Again, she is a real person. So, ladies, tomorrow we are going to go into a lot more detail around manifestation and working with desire. And I'm going to be walking you through and showing you step by step exactly what that looks like. But as I've said, the 3-day experience in this group is really just a starting point. Like, you can't reinvent your love life by watching a few free videos in a group, right? So if you really want to do it, if you really, really want to change your love life this summer and be like my client Ruth, please do check out the link to the sales page that I just sent you in the email that is getting sent out at about 9 p.m. And I'll also be posting it above the recording of this video. Now, before we finish, I want to explain to you, so don't go away. Are you still there, ladies? I can't see. How many people do we have? I always need to know. Oh, I can't see. Okay, forget it. Okay, I want to explain to you, don't go away, because if you hop onto the Art of Electric Dating tonight or tomorrow by midnight, at whatever level, bronze, silver, gold, whatever payment plan, right? I am going to gift you my entire back catalogue of training videos. 60 hours worth of training worth £3,000. It covers all 6 steps of my bigger methodology, which is called the Reinvent Your Love Life method, right? So it's about healing your blocks to love, whole big long trainings on that, embracing your feminine genius, attracting the right man for you, showing up around men so they want to love, cherish, and adore you, dating with confidence, ease, and joy, having sensational, meaningful, connected sex, and cultivating a committed love that lasts. It includes lots and lots of visiting experts, so you get to hear from different people, and a bundle of live Q&As from women who used to be part of my membership, in which I answer top of mind questions that are likely to be very similar to the ones that you have now. So I forgot to say as well, but you may have spotted it, that for this week and until midnight on Sunday, May the 4th, I am offering 50% discounts on the Art of Electric Dating. Those prices are normally twice the price that I showed you on that sales page, right? But if you hop in, as I said, by midnight tomorrow night, you get that extra gift, which is massive, like absolutely massive. Now, if you're thinking about it, but you want to ask some questions, you're welcome to send me a DM or post a question in the group, or you can even book a 15-minute call with me to ask me face-to-face about the questions and just get a sense of how it is to hang out with me. So I'm going to send out the links to DM me to book a 15-minute call with everything else that I'm going to be sending out. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for staying with me. I'm not entirely sure who else is here. I think there are 16 of you still here, which is amazing. Please don't go away. There are still prizes to be won. Post your biggest insight from tonight in the comments thread. And remember, there are still those prizes for the 2 most engaged people. So I would love, just as a little bit of feedback, obviously this is a free course. Yes, I am selling something, but I'm also trying to give you a lot of value. And I would love the feedback. I would love to know what you are getting out of this, what you're taking away, and what your biggest aha moment has been from this evening. Join me tomorrow because we've gone down, down, down. We've been looking at all the creepy crawlies under the rock. Tomorrow we want to go up, 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 and I'm going to tell you exactly how you take some more positive steps. So don't go away. All right, see you soon. Bye.